Everybody, welcome back to the channel. The main event here, and today we're going to be talking about the Portland Regional Championships, the first official Regulation F tournament with all the new Indigo Disc Pokemon. Question of the day is going to be: do you think the Portland Regional Championships metagame trends are going to stick, or do you think they're more of a result of this just being the first tournament, people just trying things out, and then it'll drastically change over the course of the rule set? So we're going to start off with Alex Underhill's winning team, the team that won the event. It consists of Dragonite, Fluttermane, Raging Bolt, Entei, Ogerpon, Chien-Pao. The team on its surface looks pretty simple, straightforward, but actually does have a lot of depth. And I say that because, one, he has a lot of coverage, right? Ton of coverage. He has the Dragon coverage, he has the Fairy coverage, he has the Elemental coverage with Water, Electric, Fire. Ice is a great offensive typing. He has Priority with Sucker Punch, 2 Extreme Speeders. He has Recovery with Horn Leech. He has Redirection. He has Priority, like I said. The team, you can see that he has like a Banded Pokemon, an Assault Vest Pokemon. So it does cut off a couple of his Protect. So instead of using like a Choice Specs Flutter, he has Protect. He has Protect on the Raging Bolt. He has Protect on his Ogerpon, Protect on the Chien-Pao. So I think with the combination of Priority, the 2 in the Focus Mons, so he doesn't get faked out, and 4 Protects, he was allowed to position this Mon without having any form of like speed control, right? He just has the Priority, he has Protects, and he can just position really well. Even against like Trick Room teams, you would think like, well, Fake Out plus like Trick Room can kind of go run through this team, but it doesn't work that, right? Because what happens if he just leaves something like Fluttermane plus Entei? You can't fake out either of those Pokemon. So he can just double down on your Trick Room user, or if he wants to make a read, he can double down on a partner. Watching his sets on stream, this team does create what looks like a lot of 50-50s, but they look more like 75-25s when Alex was using it, because he kind of, when you're in control of the 50-50s, it kind of puts you at an advantage. And he would always just make the right call, but it didn't seem like right call. It seemed more like really good practice to me. It didn't seem like he was guessing. It seemed like he just really worked on his game plans going into his matches, because he was making very, very few mistakes with, if any, with this team. And he's using like a special attack boosting Flutter, for example, which is something that people kind of shied away from because it gives away your speed stat. He didn't care. He preferred having the damage and the ability to protect on the Flutter, which is something I can appreciate because I actually like special attack boost Flutter. He does not have Calm Mind on the Raging Bolt. Something else I can appreciate, right? Because Amoonguss gives this thing a lot of trouble. It forces you to Terra into like grass, but Terra Grass doesn't shed your ice weakness to the opposing Chien-Pao. But he was able to go Terra Water, so he doesn't have to be weak to ice. He can be neutral to Dragon and Fairy. And the Goggles, so he doesn't have to worry about going to sleep. So he can just get his Thunderclaps off in peace, right? He doesn't have to worry about getting redirected. He went with Draco Meteor instead of Dragon Pulse, since he doesn't have booster energy for the extra damage, which I think is smart. Draco Meteor hits really hard from this Pokemon, really, really hard. He does have Terra Grass on the Entei as well. So like those Terra Water Amoonguss, that can be very, very annoying for something like Entei, being redirecting your Sacred Fires, can be really, really tough to deal with. But with Terra Grass, you can kind of just ignore it and just go after the partner as well as you want. This team on its surface would also have a bit of an issue with Tornadus Urshifu, so I think that's why he has the Ogerpon Water here. This is all just me looking at the team and making my own little analysis here. I think the Ogerpon Water helps a lot with that matchup, as well as like having the resist into water with the Dragonite, and then like for the Tornadus, Chien-Pao can kind of just one-shot it in most situations depending on how it's built. But yeah, so that's the team that he used. Really, really good team. I don't know if anyone else could have piloted this team as well as him. Actually, I'm pretty sure they were saying that Chuppa, the person who he beat in finals, shout out to Chuppa, was going to run the exact same team, but ended up using the Dozo squad instead. It might look like maybe Alex made the right call because he won the whole tournament. So let's go ahead and look at the top 8. You can't see the drop downs, but I can just read it off to you. So in top 8, there's actually the most common Pokemon was Ogerpon Wellspring with 5. It was on the 1st place team, the 3rd place team, the 4th place team, and then the 7th and 8th place team, which is it's surprising that it's not surprising that it showed up so much in top 8. But it's surprising that it showed up the most in top 8. I was not expecting that at all. But I guess it's good into Incineroar even at -1. It's good into Urshifu. It's good into side spam, which is something people were a little bit worried about with like the new side spam stuff. It's good into all the special attackers because they all have to brute force their way through that +1 special defense stat. So you know what? I can see why it made its rounds this time, especially with Ogerpon having fallen off at previous tournaments. It kind of makes sense to me. Chien-Pao was the second highest with 4. Then Dragonite had 4, Fluttermane had 4, Raging Bull had 3, Entei had 2, Incineroar had 2, Kingambit had 2, Landorus had 2, Urshifu had 2, Mungus, Arcanine, Dondozo, Gallade, Gholdengo, Glimmora, Hatterene, and DDF, and Latias all had 1. Surprising not to see more Latias in top 8, I guess, because it was really hyped up. Oh yeah, then there was Ogerpon, Heartflame, Regidrago, Streamtail, Tatsugiri, Torkoal, Tornadus, Ursaluna, and Urshifu Rapid Strike with 1 in top 8. So yeah, there was 1 Urshifu Dark and then 1 Urshifu Rapid based on what this says. Actually, but I'm looking at the top 8 and there's only 1. Oh, there it goes. Here it goes. I think Joseph Ugarte had the Rapid Strike and Jose Vasquez had the Single Strike. There we go. All right. That's the top 8. If you go to like the top 128, Fluttermane had 77, and then on day 2 it had 23. So that's a pretty good conversion rate. Like obviously, it's a lot less Fluttermane, but that's because only 45 teams in day 2. So out of the 45 teams in day 2, Fluttermane makes up 23 of them, which is more than half. So it's like a 51% usage. I'm pretty sure was in the day 2 teams. I think that's what the graphics said as well. So that actually makes a lot of sense to me. So the second highest usage Pokemon in the top 128 was Chien-Pao. And then on day 2 for the top 45 team, exactly, Chien-Pao it was also still the second highest with 20. So Chien-Pao really kind of overperformed because I'm not sure, it was like 40% on day 2, which is out of this world for its day 1 usage, which was far, I can't remember the exact number, but it was far less than that on day 1. But it really jumped up. And it kind of makes sense because Chien-Pao enables so many other things. Like if you look at the Pokemon after it, on day 2, Chien-Pao had 20, and Entei had 13, and Dragonite had 13, basically on day 2. And even Urshifu Rapid Strike had 17. Chien-Pao really enables all of those Pokemon. So I don't know if it was just a great Pokemon on its own, or the fact that its ability to enable those Pokemon to be really strong is what made it so popular in the top, was what made it so successful. Popular and successful, different. Because top 28 means it had success, and day 2 means it had success. So it wasn't just a popular pick, but it was a successful popular pick. So its success either can be attributed to its own strength, or it could be attributed to the fact that it enabled those strong Pokemon. I actually want to check out something on Chien-Pao specifically, because the thing that I noticed, yeah, this is what I want to talk about right here. You see this right here? Ice Spinner versus Crash. So out of the 20 Chien-Paos on day 2, 13 were running Ice Spinner, and 7 running Crash. So reasons people might run Ice Spinner over Crash: 1, consistency, right? Ice Spinner cannot miss versus Crash, which can miss. And I'm assuming because people know that you can kind of EV to live Crash if you go super bulky, they're thinking if you're gonna live anyway, maybe I just go Spinner. Even though it's much harder to live Crash than it is Spinner. But also with the addition of Entei, and this is just me like making an analytical like observation, because Entei flat out does resist Fluttermane hard, and I'm pretty sure you can just like kill it with Entei with like Sacred Fire, and then you can like protect your Chien-Pao, and if you want to, you can just like Ice Spitter it the next turn, or Sucker Punch it depending on how the speeds worked out. But you don't need to necessarily kill it with the Crash every time, because your Assault Vest Entei kind of just stands in front of Flutter and doesn't care about it. So that makes sense to me. Additionally, like I said, people I think were, because of the new toy syndrome, were expecting a lot of side spam, and this does clear terrain. So it's a good tool for clearing terrain. It does make you susceptible to rocky helmets, but like I think there's a trade-off that people were willing to make. And obviously it paid off because there was a lot of successful Chien-Paos. Next thing I want to look at is the Incineroar. I'm gonna go to top 128s. So Incineroar had 48 appearances in the top 128, which is pretty good. That's above 30%. That's actually really good. It's better than I thought that it was in the top of my head. That's actually really nice. It was the third most used day Pokemon. No, it was the second most used Pokemon on day 1, and I want to say the 4th in day 2. Yeah, because day 2 it was 4th after Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, Urshifu Rapid, and Incineroar. Speaking of Urshifu Rapid, the demise of Urshifu Rapid Strike was very, very much overstated. For 17 of the 45 teams in day 2 to have Urshifu Rapid Strike is actually pretty insane, because Raging Bolt was supposed to destroy it. There were 38 Raging Bolts in top 128, and there were 12 in day 2. And I think there was just the one in top 8, right? The one Raging Bolt in top 8, and it's the one that won. No, it's 3 Raging Bolts in top 8. My apologies, yeah. And one of them won. And was there any? Yeah, and then the one. Okay, so you know what? Maybe because it was one Urshifu Rapid Strike in top 8 and 3 Raging Bolts. So I think maybe as the tournament started to weave itself down even more, Urshifu was better against the field most of the time. But then as the tournament got smaller, Raging Bolt did leave its mark. Like I said, it did win the whole tournament, right? But yeah, like I was saying, Incineroar, 48 on top 128. Looks like the most common Terra was Grass, which is to be expected. Intimidate 48 at 48, yes, of course. Citrus Berry, the most common item, which is I guess that's pretty expected. It's pretty good instant item. What's surprising is that, oh, there goes 2 Pinch Berry healings. Is surprising. I thought there would be more people using like the Pinch Berry healings, like, you know, Figgy, Iapapa, etc. Safety Goggles is to be expected. But Grass Citrus Berry is a very consistent Incineroar set. You can Terra away from the Amoonguss. You can Terra away from the Water Weakness. Citrus Berry just makes you live. Double ups, triple ups, all that good stuff. Dragon is interesting because you already don't resist Flutter. You're neutral to it. So taking on that weakness could be a little bit difficult. But yeah, I think Grass just might be better in that case, right? Because Grass resists water. Grass resists grass. So you're not losing to grass like a Terra Water would. Just the same way Dragon resists water in grass. And also, what does Grass also resist that Dragon does? Okay, I mean, Dragon resists fire, but like, that's fine. This gives you the Amoonguss immunity. So I'm wondering why the people who went Dragon decided Dragon over Grass. Because like I said, Grass gives you the resistance to grass and water that Dragon gives you. And you don't take on that fairy weakness. Yeah, you take on like a flying type weakness, but this also gives you a resistance to ground, which Dragon doesn't give you. So yeah, I do wonder about that. Like, even water helps you keep your resistance to like steel, right? And resist water as well. Oh yeah, Grass also resists like electricity. So like, Grass gives you 3 of the 4 resistances that Dragon does. So I do wonder what these people were, what their plan was. Maybe they didn't want to lose to opposing Incineroar with Flare Blitz, because you do take on a fire weakness, so that could be a thing. And in that case, I do kind of understand it. There was one Stellar Terra Incineroar, which is shocking that there was any, because Stellar is a offensive typing, like, only. So like, I mean, maybe the boost is nice, but that's pretty intriguing to me. And then day 2, okay, so only 2 of the dragons made day 2, and then one of the dragons made top 8. So that person, maybe they know better than I do, because they made top 8 with a dragon. And then, you know what though, look at the items. The Pinchberry healing made one out of the 2 top 8 Pokemon, and the Assault Vest made the other one. Assault Vest and Incineroar, I think, is a really strong, by the way. In top 8, how many Assault Vests? There's only 7 Assault Vests in top 28, but then 2 in day 2, but then in top 8 there's the 1. I think Assault Vest Incineroar is, for this format, is underplayed. Obviously, historically, it's been very strong. I think it's underplayed for this specific format, because it allows you a bit more distribution with your EVs. And then with Terra, you can deal with the Amoonguss stuff as well, with not being sport or redirected. So I think that more people might actually lean towards this AV set, because Parting Shot is just really good, I understand, but U-Turn gives you the pivot you need, right? But Parting Shot also gives you a way to hit the inner focus Pokemon for a pseudo Intimidate, right? Because inner focus only stops Intimidate, it doesn't stop Parting Shot. And then there was a Snarl and a U-Turner, yeah, because that was the Assault Vest one. And then 128, I want to see what moves it used. Darkness Lariat over Knockoff for 2 people. Interesting. Close Combat on 1, Throat Chop on 1. Well, there's no Hyper Voices, right? Oh, that's for Farigiraf, I guess, right? Yeah, that makes sense. That's such an interesting thing. I'm trying to think, what else is something that we are curious about? Oh, you know what? Landorus. This is most likely Landorus Therian, right? Yeah, because 27 Landorus in top 128, and 27 out of 27 has Sheer Force. So they were all Lando Incarnate, not Therian. They're all Lando Eyes. Poison for 26 of them goes for 1. Probably just didn't want to get faked out on turn 1 versus the Incineroar and just blow it up with Earth Power. I respect that. All of them were Life Orb. That is pretty insane. How well did it do in day 2? Oh, there were 5 out of 45. So hold on a second. That's not that great because it was 27 to 5. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but that is not a very good conversion rate. And then top 8, there were 2. So at least from day 2 to top 8, it did convert. But day 2 to from top 128 to day 2, it did not do that great. So just one last thing I want to go over is with the top 8 teams, and it's a pretty diverse pool of teams here, right? Because I'm looking at the squads. The only people that seem to have the exact same 6 are Alex and Colin. They both have Flutter, they both have D-Knight, they both have Ogerpon Water, they both have Raging Bolt, and they both have Chien-Pao. Oh, you know what? I think I saw Colin on Twitter say that he was thanking Alex for allowing him to use the team a few days before the event. He picked up the team a few days before the event because he was not actually going to attend. So that's why they have the same team. He just basically helped them out. But otherwise, like Chuppa's team is Ogerpon Grass with Dozo, Giri, Pao Knight, Glamora. Shout out to Glamora getting Meteor Beam. Power Meteor Beam makes that thing such a threat now because you get the +1 stab, which does so much damage to so many Pokemon at neutral or even at super effective. So look out for that thing to be on the rise. I think that's a sleeper, especially with like Toxic Debris. So if you want to hit it before you can get the Meteor Beam off, you have to take that trade, right? There's a Goldango here team with the, this is a classic, Goldango, Regidrago, Tornadus, but with the Scream Tail. Shout out to Anton because he piloted that really well. He had the Encore, Disable, Protect, Dazzling set on there. He piloted that to a top 4 finish, which was really impressive. People were just not ready for it. I don't think that someone else could just pick this team up and have the same success. I think it's, very player specific. He just did really well. I don't think a bunch of people can just pick this up and have the same kind of success as he did though. But yeah, so like this team is very unique. No one else had this exact team. Like I said, with Colin and Alex, their teams are the same for a reason. Brandon Davis has this like Essential Heart Trick Routine, which I actually want to take a look at the Gallade set. I don't know what it does. Oh, it's Clear Amulet, Trick Room, Wide Guard, Cycle Cut, Sacred Sword. See, I would never have guessed that set. So he has 1, 2, 3 Trick Room setters. And he has the very classic Scarf Urshifu that Trick Room teams type to run in case you get caught with your pants down and don't get Trick Room up. Yeah, that's something that they definitely do, which is kind of nice. But hard Trick Room team, I got it back. Oh no, I don't. There we go. Hard Trick Room team in top 8. Ogerpon Fire, King Gambit, Amoonguss, Urshifu, Chien-Pao team. Very unique team in the sense that no other team has this combination of Pokemon. And even the other King Gambit team doesn't have the same composition around it, right? The one right below it that Ryan Haig used. Instead of the Ogerpon Fire, this one has Ogerpon Water. This one has Latios, which that team above does not have. It has Dragonite as its Dragon type instead. This team has the Flutter, which the team above it does not. That Joseph Ugarte is making the team above it. That Joseph Ugarte does not have. Lando I that Joseph Ugarte does not have. He has the one lone Arcanine Hisui. He's still holding on to Arcanine Hisui, which I can respect because he made top 8 with it, right? It's not like he's holding on to something that he can't have success with. He made top 8. And then the last team, I actually haven't seen this 6 put together before. Lando, Raging Bolt, Urshifu, Ogerpon, Fluttermane, and Incineroar. I haven't seen that composition. I've seen a lot of these other comps, except for the 7th and 8th team. I don't think I've seen before. I've seen a lot of these other comps. I've seen like even Anton's team minus the Scream Tail because we've seen that before. But these last 2 I've never seen put together in this exact way. That's interesting. I wonder if that's going to pick up. I know Latios was picking up with like Registeel teams, but not with Hisui and Arcanine. And I guess maybe you take out the Registeel and you put a King Gambit and now you have a more offensive Steel type and it's not as passive. So I think that actually makes a lot of sense. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the Portland results. Once again, question of the day, are these results going to stick as far as the usage and the success of certain Pokemon? Or do you see things changing drastically as the season goes on? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you guys for being here and I'll see you guys in the next one.